Fear can shrink your vision before you even take a step. I mean, it can convince you to stay where you're at, stay safe, even when you want to grow, even when you want to have amazing results. I mean, think about New Year's resolutions. I know you might not do those, but many people do, or many people set goals, and then they're in search of fear. They're in search of worry. They're in search of doubt. Not intentionally, but they've gotten in the habit of doing it to where we let fear and obstacles get in our way. And it can turn this path super cloudy and really make your goals feel out of reach, almost to the point where some people won't even start on their goals. They'll just start to think of what if scenarios and never get started. But here's the thing. Fear loses its power when you learn how to move through it through using awareness and really using intention and just some confidence, some honest confidence that you build up with your ability to figure things out. And that's where growth happens. Growth happens when you stop letting fear set the limits, and especially on your potential. Remember, when you have a goal, having a goal is to grow, not to get, okay? So many people carry around fear without even noticing how much it shapes their choices, and they avoid that. There could be a brand new opportunity right in front of them that will make everything possible, and they'll avoid the new opportunities. They'll delay goals. They keep their dreams really small. We'll go after a big dream, and then we couldn't reach it, and then we start to minimize things just because expanding feels unsafe. And the thing is with fear and with obstacles, things like that, they don't always show up in a loud way. Sometimes it shows up in these little subtle things: hesitation, doubt, even the thought that, oh, I need more time. I need to chew on that a little bit. I need to come back to that later. A lot of people are doing that right now. I'm recording this in the holiday season, and many people are circling around to their goals when the new year starts. They're putting things on hold right now, and they can justify it. That's the thing. They feel like, oh, it's the busy season. I'm gonna do this. So I don't want to get off track here. It's just when it goes unchallenged, it really becomes this voice that really decides how far you're going to allow yourself. And when you start to really identify that, for instance, my big fear, and a couple of them when I was first starting out, one of them was, it's getting too late in life for me to get healthy and fit and in shape. Now, this was as I was about to turn 40, maybe like I was 38 years old, knew that 40 was on the horizon, and I was telling myself that story already. This is the way life is going to be. And in my mind, I'd seen the blueprint of unhealthy friends, coworkers, family members. So there was proof. There was evidence there. So I was kind of living up to that standard. But I started questioning things like, says who? You can shift the pattern once you start seeing that fear, worry, doubt. Those are signals that are great. Just saying, hey, we got to break through this little bit here. Instead of just stopping, using it as a stop sign. Fear does not have to decide your future. I'm going to let you know that right now. You probably already know that. But what we know doesn't necessarily mean we're actually taking action or setting intentions. But you can use fear to point you in directions toward where you want to grow the most. Where it feels a little bit uncomfortable. It's where you separate your fear from your vision, and you create this room to see your goals with more clarity. Remember, you're wanting to grow along with your goal, not to just get it. And that shift, it begins with awareness. It strengthens with intention. It grows with patience. So I'm so glad you're on this podcast. And hey, if you want guidance on building a stronger approach to your goals with a steady energy, clear direction, I encourage you, head over to talktoperry.com. If you're watching on video, I'm popping it in the lower third there. We're going to walk you through a plan that supports your growth without adding all this unnecessary stress. It's over at talktoperry.com, and let's move forward. Let's conquer those goals of yours. All right, let's talk about fear. Fear often attaches itself two obstacles. And it's usually the obstacles that feel bigger than they really are. Have you ever done that? It's like, okay, well, we're gonna sign up for this fitness class, and you start to go, oh my gosh, I've got a to-do list a mile long. Oh my gosh, traffic is going to be overwhelming to get to that side of town. Oh my gosh. And we build up a thing. We build up a thing so much that, of course, we wouldn't go after our goal. Look at these mountains we have to climb. Really. Obstacles can look in different ways for people. Time, energy, money, confidence, the fear of failing in front of others. All those things can seem so amazingly real. And here's the wild thing. Most obstacles, they soften once we face them directly, once we challenge them. Like what I was just saying before, it's too late in life for me to get in shape. And I'm like, says who? I'm going after this anyway, and I'm gonna prove that wrong. I'm gonna go after my goal and see if this is true. There were so many things I challenged. I hate vegetables is another one, and I challenged that one. Now I eat vegetables. I'm not a morning person. That was another one. I defended that limitation for years. And once I let that go, it's like, what's the deal there? People lose, they lose their weight. Not people who lose their weight, but the obstacles do. When you break them into smaller chunks, smaller pieces, smaller things that you can accomplish. And that's where your vision gets stronger. When you stop looking at obstacles as these big things and you just break them down, just start understanding them. You start asking yourself questions. What am I avoiding? What am I holding back? And you got to get radically honest with yourself, because a lot of times you'll ask yourself these questions and then you'll come up with a rational explanation for it. What am I afraid will happen? That was another big thing for me. I was afraid that if I put in the time and energy of exercising to lose some weight, and it was like I was doing a little 90-day challenge, what if I spend the time doing this and I don't see the results? I feel like the dude on Back to the Future is like, I can't set myself up for that type of rejection. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, there it is again. Let's go challenge this. Let's go see. If anything, I'm going to learn some stuff along the way. Not many people will go and say, I'm going to learn some stuff along the way. Not many people say, I'm going to enjoy the journey. And you can even ask yourself, what skill or support would move me forward? Most people, they won't slow down long enough just to ask themselves that question. They just get in this little loop of avoidance and frustration. But when you really start to explore fear with curiosity, the pressure fades. Your mind opens up. Your choices, they feel more grounded, and opportunities appear when you didn't expect them. That's a pretty cool thing. And, it's going to, as you go through there, you're going to be challenged with some discomfort. You're going to be challenged with some unpredictability. But comfort and growth, they don't have to be in the same place. Growth requires challenge. Think of any time that you needed to learn a skill, or when you were hired on your first job that you ever had, there was a learning curve to something. And some of it was uncomfortable. Some of it took a long time to understand. And eventually, with some practice, some repetition, some awarenesses, you broke through. So when you approach this with really honesty, radical honesty, I always say, start with, you got to take action. Something, and you're taking action to match the future self that you're putting out there and saying, well, in the future, I want to be this person. You start taking those actions now. You don't have to have necessarily the results yet, but you're taking the actions best that you can. I get it. Future self might bang out 50 push-ups and you're like, I can only do 2, but you're taking the action to attempt to get stronger at push-ups. That's just one simple thing. That's where your vision expands, because you're no longer shrinking your dreams to fit the comfort zone that you're living in. You know what? You actually stop editing yourself. Stop limiting the goals. You stop defending the limitations, and you see what's possible. You see things that were often hidden before. And that is a great way to weaken that fear, is just to focus on the proof. You've overcome hard things before. You've accomplished amazing things before. You just maybe never acknowledged yourself for them. Just look at the times you've handled stress, change, pressure, uncertainty, things that seemed dramatic at the time, but you made it through. You've got so many chapters of life. You've got such a story. So there's things that should build your confidence, and that should help build your vision. The more proof that you actually acknowledge and recognize, the less space fear takes up. You're like, oh my gosh, I did that. If I can do that, I can go after my goal. And that's where you start to diminish the fade stuff. And I get it. People like to give fear the power, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting until life magically is in alignment and that they're able to do it and that they'll have nothing on their to-do list. But you know what? It's actually progress is going to, you start with getting progress when you take the first step with what you have, where you're at. And that's how you start to chip away at this big to-do list or this big busy schedule that you claim is so overwhelming. And then you start to actually being able to go through your list, go through your day with more energy, more pep. So just even the small steps, it creates movement. It helps break apart the fear. And a lot of times fear, it relies on stillness. It relies on the stories in your head. And vision, even though that's in your head, vision's going to grow when you start taking action. That's where the obstacles lose power. You look at them through a lens of possibility instead of limitation. That's where I started to restructure things for my health and fitness. And I've applied it to many things in my life. But I started looking at why I couldn't, looking at the things of, well, I can't do that because of this and this and this. And then I started questioning, says who? Or why is that true? Or is it really true? So when you start doing that, you begin to look at every obstacle as a choice, an opportunity. I can stop or I can continue to grow. And so that becomes so much easier when you stop expecting this path to be totally perfect, totally smooth. And just having the mindset, it doesn't remove the obstacles. I'm not trying to tell you that. It just helps you move through them without losing the vision toward your goal. And it's going to help you gain ability to just rise up to the challenge instead of retreating it. That's where your vision's going to expand. And you build a stronger future when you trust that you're capable of way more than the power you're giving the fear. You don't need to live a fearless life. Just live a courageous one to plow through. And, it doesn't even have to be with like a grinding effort. It can be with ease and flow. Just to have that much space and that much awareness to say, I'm questioning an obstacle. I've got an obstacle. I'm making it big. Can I take it in smaller chunks? And how can I take action to keep moving through? Because I'm going after this goal. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. You could drop those down in the comments. I so appreciate you. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness Community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review
for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find the show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.